Hello, and welcome to episode 72 of Anime Territory. I am your host this week, Benjamin Chabin, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Johnny. Did you know Americans call these Mario Karts? Ruha.
That is probably my favorite line from this show.
Today, we are going to be discussing Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
Which, let's get this straight up front. A couple of things to note. Number one, there will be spoilers for Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. There will be spoilers for the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels, and probably spoilers for the movie as well. And maybe the soundtrack, possibly the game.
Yeah.
I haven't actually beaten the endings of the game, but I have read what they are. So maybe we'll talk about them.
I have not played the game.
I played it once.
Okay.
Maybe a couple times. I played the demo, and then I played it with Bo once.
Cool.
It's fun. I might get it.
Might get it now.
Yeah. So the other thing we wanted to address is this an anime? Should we be covering this on an anime podcast? Do you have thoughts on this? I've got some thoughts written down.
I'm going to say yes. It was made by Science Saru. This is an anime company, so I'm counting it.
Okay. So here's just play devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Science Saru did the animation, but there are lots of American cartoons like Venture Brothers or The Simpsons where they farm out the animation to Korea or Japan.
Okay.
So, and I think Japan sometimes farms out animation to Korea. So that's not always an indicative if this is actually an anime or not. So here's the points I have. I don't know if you've got any other points.
Nope.
Points against Canadian/American producers and writers.
Okay.
As far as we could tell, we couldn't really tell directors. We didn't recognize anybody. We're assuming they're Japanese based off of the names.
Yes.
So that's a point for it, is that potential Japanese directors. Created by a Japanese studio, Science Saru. It has a Japanese dub that released at the same time as the American dub.
Which I think some people were watching instead of. Because I think they assumed it was an anime. So they're watching the dub.
Of course they are.
Sorry.
Yeah, they were watching the Japanese dub with English subtitles.
Yes.
Is how you would say that. All anime is dubbed, even if you're reading subtitles,
yes.
It's still dubbed in Japanese. Also, another point for it being an anime to the rest of the world means Japanese animation, but to Japan it just means animation. Yeah. So piss off. We want to watch Scott Pilgrim and talk about it.
Yes.
It's an anime. It qualifies. It qualifies more than all those other ones that are close. It qualifies more than Avatar or Ruby. There's more of a Japanese, foundation to it.
It's our show. We'll do what we want.
Brian Lee O'Malley is a huge weeb.
True.
The graphic novels have got references to... I don't think they have references to Ava that I saw. But it has references to... No, I think it does have Ava references.
Maybe a couple.
There's a Porco Rosso poster in the background of one episode, or one comic.
Shit, really?
Yeah, it's... Natalie's... We're a little bit of spoiler. In Natalie's dorm room, there's a Porco Rosso poster at one point.
I was just too focused, reading it. I didn't...
Yeah.
I have to really look at the panels.
There's a reference to... Towards the end, Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour, there's a reference to... Revolutionary Girl Lutenia,
okay,
which I would not have gotten if I had not seen Revolutionary Girl Lutenia, but I can point it out to you sometime if you want, but I won't say here. But yeah, we're gonna spoil this. It's an anime, whatever, close enough. I want to talk about it. Nobody listens to this anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're in charge. I'll let you.
So we'll just go into general impressions of the show Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
The show. Okay. Can I also give general impressions of everything?
Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
General impressions of the show, I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I think it really captures Brian Lee O'Malley's art style, which is a fun art style.
Yeah, I'm glad they kept that art style.
Yeah. To anybody, going slightly back to the anime, is an anime topic. Some people are like, that doesn't look like anime animation. That's not how anime animation works. It's well, some anime animation looks like that. Panty and stocking plus garter belt looks sort of like that. Mm-hmm. There are some stuff out there that is there. It's not like a realistic style, but there's anime out there like that. So again, sorry, wanted to point that out. I really liked it. My overall impression of Scott Pilgrim, any Scott Pilgrim property, is that it leaves me wanting.
Leaves you wanting.
Yeah, but not in a bad way, in a good way. Like, I want more of this. I just want Kim, Ramona, Wallace, and to a lesser extent Scott to be happy and to see them hang out some more. Like, I like all those characters, and I just want to, like, be in that world some more, or get, like,
I think that's a good way to put it. You want to be in that world more.
Yes, exactly. I want more.
Yes.
I intentionally said leaves me wanting, because that's normally a bad thing, but it does leave me wanting more. Which I think this show does a good job of sort of giving us more from the comics, while also giving us less in some areas. But
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll save that till I got a whole thing I want to talk about.
Anything else?
No, it's good. Go watch. I watched it twice.
Yeah, I really liked it. It is really fun. Have some nitpicks here and there, but overall, it's a really good time. It's really good, really fun, funny.
Go watch it. It's self-contained. All the clickbait articles are like, they are prepared for no season 2. It's like, because not a lot of stuff actually gets to season 2, so let's just write season 1 to be good. But what they did with, I will say, what they did with season 1, okay,
sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. Do you think people should watch the movie and or read the graphic novel before the show?
This is a tough question.
Is this something you could this be your first exposure to Scott Pilgrim?
I don't know how to answer this. Because I do not want to be that person who's like, no, go read the graphic novels first. Okay. What are you doing? I don't want to be that person. But I also know, man, having read the graphic novels, this is great. What they're doing here is, I'm glad I had read the novels beforehand, so I have all this other
I
stuff.
think this is better if you have context for Scott Pilgrim.
But I think you can watch this.
I think you could.
It's just hard to say because I have not.
That is true. It is hard to judge based on our experiences.
Yes.
I would say you could, but I would recommend at least either reading the graphic novel first or watch the movie first.
Yeah, at the very least, I would say try to watch the movie first. It is a good movie. We've rewatched the movie after watching this too, and it's like my least favorite of all the Scott Pilgrim properties. The movie.
Okay.
I think I like the graphic novels best, and then the anime, and then the movie.
See, I don't know. We might talk about that.
Okay. I mean, we can just get into discussions here.
Okay, let's just discuss.
So
I guess, did you want to discuss the anime first?
Yeah, well, let's at the very least discuss what happens in the first episode.
Okay.
So the first episode is what we all were maybe not what we all were thinking we'd get.
What I was thinking.
Is what we were thinking we'd get. It's very much hey, you remember how everything was condensed in the movie when we made the graphic novels? We took the graphic novel and condensed it all into a movie. Well, this we don't have to do nearly as much condensing. The first episode is almost beat for beat the first graphic novel. It's almost
okay.
What is the first one called? Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life.
Okay. Do you want me to grab?
No, I should be able to remember all the titles once I know what the order is. Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life is... I think that's honestly the episode title, too. It's Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life. Or maybe just Precious Little Life. And it's just okay, this has got a few more, it spans out the beats, which I would say the movie does a good job of capturing the first novel anyway. Definitely more of the first novel than any of the other novels.
Oh yeah, after the first one, it does shrink
because
drastically.
Because the graphic novels, we talked about this shortly before recording. They span over the course of at least a year, a little bit more than a year potentially. April to I think
it's to March.
Yeah, so maybe just a little under a year, but basically a year is what we're looking at there. So in the movie, it's 4 days max.
Yeah, maybe a week.
Maybe
that just depends on if there's some time cuts.
Yeah, just us not paying attention to when it actually changes from day to night, sort of thing. But it's okay, this is I get why they did that.
It opens with snow on the ground. It ends with snow on the ground.
Yes. Which does the novels end with snow on the ground? Is the stuff in Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour in the winter? Or is it more spring?
I don't think there's snow on the ground.
But there's definitely summer at one point. They go to a beach house.
I think that's 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's in 4, which would be Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe. No, is that 5? That one's 5. What is 4? 3 is the Infinite Sadness. Scott gets it together.
Scott gets it together. Okay.
Or gets his life together.
I don't know.
Dang it. I should have known. That's the one I'm weak on. He gets it together is what it is. Something like that. Sorry, I got detracted trying to think of useless trivia that nobody cares about. Yeah, so it's pretty much that until the very end of the episode when we get to
his fight with Matthew Patel.
Yes. Ramona's first evil ex, which I guess we've just been talking like people know things about Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Pilgrim is dating a high schooler named Knives Child. They only like sort of dating. She's 17. He's 23. I don't know what age he is in the anime. They change his age from the comics to the movie to the anime, so I don't know. But
it says here 23.
Yeah, he meets Ramona Flowers and is instantly like, I'm attracted to this person. And sort of starts to see her before telling Knives, before breaking up with her. Which is our first indication that Scott's not, as much as like people like Scott and he's very charismatic, he's not the best person.
No, he is not.
He presents as like, I'm this lovable goofball nice guy. And he is a lovable goofball nice guy, but he's got problems, which, you know, the novels do a good point of saying like, hey, this is, you know, take this guy. He's going to slowly learn that, wait a minute, I haven't always been the best boyfriend to people or the best person to people. I've made some mistakes and I need to actually own up to those instead of, you know, forgetting about them or ignoring them.
His whole thing is like he just, rather than confronting or like acknowledging mistakes or like hardships, he'll just forget them.
Yeah, that's a point in the graphic novels, but which I'll get to that a little bit later because I want to get to the twist.
Okay.
So at the end of the first episode, anyone who's watched the movie or read the comic book knows that he defeats Matthew Patel without too much hassle. But in this one, before the fight like fully gets started, he loses supposedly. Yeah. And it's just like, he's dead. He's coins on the ground.
Scott Pilgrim is dead after episode 1.
Supposedly. And then it follows Ramona being like, wait a minute, something's not right here. And then she goes like, oh, it looks at security footage. He's not dead. Somebody opened a portal. Somebody opened a portal and threw some coins out to make it seem like he got dead. Which I should also note, if you're not familiar with Scott Pilgrim, people die in this world, they turn into coins, like a video game. Mm-hmm. It's a video game version of Toronto.
Yes.
So you're just like, okay, going in a completely different direction. We are not getting a full-on animated adaptation of Scott Pilgrim graphic novel, which I would love, and was what people wanted.
So that's what I was originally thinking this was, and then I got spoiled about.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. I got spoiled that Scott dies at the end of episode 1.
I don't think I got spoiled at it, but I think I figured something was up when people are like, don't do anything, just go in and watch it, you know.
But I actually appreciate that. I'm glad it's something different.
Well, and I think in an interview, Brian Lee O'Malley said, like, that sounds terrible. I would not want to make that. He doesn't think the end product would be terrible, but he would not, like, he wouldn't want to do that.
Do what?
Make a straight adaptation of the graphic novels. He wouldn't want to, he'd want to do something new. He wouldn't want to just remake what he's already done. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, that sounds like an excruciating process that I don't want to do. So
it's also probably, I think he was like really young when he wrote that, and there's probably a lot of things in there. He's like, I wrote this.
Yeah, like the comics, they used the R word a couple of times, which, you could just see is like, they're 20-something people in 2005. That was just part of the nomenclature. They weren't like actively making fun of disabled people. They were just calling people stupid.
Yeah, you could say that word back then. Now, not so much.
Yeah. So, and there might be, that's probably the only like real dated thing I could say. But I could also see an author just not wanting to return to their previous works and not wanting to like shorten it again. Like it had already been shortened for the movie, but since he was basically writing the show with somebody else, like how do I kill my precious little darlings is I think an author term of like how do I cut stuff?
Yeah.
Because you need to still, like, even with this expanded format, you still can't adapt it 1-to-1. So you would need to cut stuff.
Gotcha.
And what do you choose to cut? And that is hard to do when, especially when you have a finished product where you're like, yes, everything is already, cut down. Now I need to cut it further. Well, when do I stop? What's sacred, what's not? It seems like something he just said, like, I would not want to do that.
Let's just fresh start this.
Yep. So, this is where I'm just going to kind of go into some of my notes here. If you'll allow me.
Go for it. I'll allow it.
Okay. So the graphic novels.
Okay.
The graphic novels are about Scott learning to own up to his mistakes and grow as a person. So, like, we have there's literally an enemy in the comics called Nega Scott, which is just how he represses things. So, like, his breakup with Envy Adams back in college, that was all her fault. It wasn't because he was drunk at a New Year's Eve party and they had a big fight and then they broke up. Also, potentially, he had the signs of, like, okay, it's pretty obvious that she was potentially cheating on me and I'm still sticking around and not confronting. Like, his fear of confrontation stopped him from ending it earlier because he didn't want to end it. Because there's a scene of them in the graphic novels where they're being intimate and then somebody leaves a voicemail for her and it's like, who is that guy? It's like, this friend I see sometimes. Like, are you cheating on me? Like, that was before their big breakup there. So, like, he's just like, oh, yep, that was her fault. I'm the one in the wrong there. And for the most part, it was mostly her fault. Yeah. But he still played a part in it. And he just forgets about that. He's just like, yeah, I just forgot about like a whole year there. When he dated Kim in high school, he's just like, yeah, I mean, it ended when I told her that my family was moving to Toronto. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. You did not tell Kim. Your other friend Lisa told Kim. That's how she found it out from somebody else that her boyfriend was moving away.
Which is why they probably broke up, is because he was not upfront about everything.
And he's just like, Kim, I don't know, we dated, whatever, I don't remember. Like, he just forgets things or pretends to forget things. And that, technically I was reading up on Nega Scott. Nega Scott didn't exist before he got infected with the glow, and the glow, like, manifested Nega Scott as a whatever. Okay.
But I kind of just, like,
Nega Scott's not always been there.
Stuff, so
okay. I can talk about the glow a little bit.
I'm just gonna keep powering through. I gotta get this done before we record.
The glow is like a disease / a mental, like, magic power.
Yeah.
Which Gideon can use to sort of, like, emotionally control people, but Ramona can sort of use to slip into subspace.
Yeah.
And it transferred to Scott, but then also transferred it to Gideon at one point. Yeah. But anyway, it's because of the glow being in Scott's mind that all this repression was able to manifest as Nega Scott.
Gotcha.
There's a line in the comic where it's like, I just have to defeat this Nega Scott guy, and then I can forget about Ramona, and because they're going through a rough patch.
But it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. He needs to remember
and
grow as a person. And because he can grow as a person, he can see those same problems he had existing inside Gideon, which, he's like, in the movie, Scott gets the power of love at the end, and then he gets the power of self-respect. Yes. Power of self-respect doesn't exist in the comics.
No, it does not.
He gets the power of love in, like, book 4, when he confesses his love to Ramona. He gets the power of understanding when he sees his own flaws in Gideon, and is like, okay, I'm not this person, because although we both have these flaws, he doesn't view them as flaws. He doesn't view, like, because Gideon is like all his past. Yeah. Gideon's past exes are like, same thing. He's just like, oh yeah, it was their fault that they left me.
He also has them cryogenically frozen.
Yeah. That thing that's holding them cryogenically frozen, it looks like a castle hanging from the ceiling. That's a reference to like an upside down castle in Revolutionary Girl Latania.
Oh, okay.
I think there might also be people cryogenically frozen in that castle in Latania. It's been a while since I've seen Revolutionary Girl Latania. But he's just like, oh, okay, I understand how you function as a person. And that's what gives him the power of understanding, which gives the power up he needs to defeat him.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. Now, since we kind of talked about how at the end of the first episode it shifts from focusing on Scott to focusing on Ramona, the graphic novels are very much about Scott confronting his past and becoming a better person.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of that with Ramona.
It has a little bit of Ramona redemption at the end.
Yeah. But this one is very much
a Scott show. It's a Scott or graphic novel. It's about him.
Yeah. Which, like, I can't remember now because I reread the comics and I rewatched the show so many times. Mm-hmm. Is it the show where Ramona says, I run away from what I love? Or is that the comics?
It might be both.
Okay. Because very much, like, she just runs away from things before. Yes. She also, like, does not want to confront.
While Scott just forgets everything, she runs from it.
Yeah. And she demonizes her past exes, too, which is the whole point of this show is so that she kind of makes amends with them to a point and then no longer sees them as evil or, demonizes them. So, yeah, the anime focuses on Ramona and her confronting her past instead of Scott confronting his flaws. And learning not to demonize her exes. Scott's development takes a back seat. And it's just more on like, okay, hey, we're going to explore this character more. Because she, especially in the movie, she doesn't really do much.
Yeah. That's kind of the biggest flaw of the movie is that just Ramona's not that interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's like, she just wear wigs in that? Is that how they did the hair? The hair just seems off to me in the movie.
It's probably a wig that they like just colored.
Yeah. Because like, I have written down here, is it weird if I'm more attracted to anime Ramona than live action Ramona?
No comment.
Oh, another thing I want to mention. So we talked about Nega Scott. Nega Scott doesn't exist in the anime.
Correct.
Which he barely exists in the movie. They don't use him to the same extent in the movie. He's just a gag at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
As to being a driving force of change in the graphic novels.
It's kind of the same. He confronts it, he conquers it, but it's played as more as a laugh. Mm-hmm. But it's still kind of the same.
Yeah, because he defeats Nega Scott by absorbing him and then becoming one instead of actually like defeating him,
rather than just making friends with him and going out for
and the movie they're just like, hey, he's a good guy. So it's sort of the same thing. Yeah. He comes to terms with Nega Scott, but it's just not as big a thing in the movie. Mm-hmm. So in this one we don't really get a Nega Scott, or do we?
What's your Oh, you're talking about old Scott?
Yeah. So we learn in like episode 6? At the end of 5, beginning of 6?
Episode 5 he comes back. Episode 6 is we go to the future.
Yeah. So the portal that opened up was his future self when he's separated from Ramona, trying to convince his past self not to not to defeat the evil exes and don't date Ramona, because it'll just end in
pain.
It'll be 10 times worse than when Envy broke up with you when she leaves. And that version of Scott, and then when we find even older Scott at the very end, is very much like hey, all that, like, the problems that you have, well, here they are compounded. If you just follow this path, you're not end up happy. You're going to end up as a, some eviler version of yourself. So he sort of replaces Nega Scott in that instance of being the catalyst for change.
I don't know if I should say this. Potential spoilers for Fate Stay Night. It's kind of that premise, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking that too as I was writing my notes.
I'm like, this guy's just Archer.
But it's just like, here's this path you could go down of your destructive tendencies and your toxic traits. If you lean into them, you're going to become this monster.
You're going to become Will Forte.
Oh, God. I don't want that. But, yeah, so he sort of takes that place. He's the catalyst for change in Scott in the show. Because Scott's got to take a back seat for Ramona's development in the show just for screen time. Yes. But he still gets that, like, he says, like, do you think I want to become that person? Like, let me make my own choices. And, you know, now that I know that this is what I could be, I'm going to hopefully try to avoid those.
Yes.
You know, and also
or at least just try harder.
Mm-hmm. You know, meeting future Ramona, there's a point where future Ramona is like, yeah, he was the love of my life. Like, I wasn't going to give up on him. So he's just like, okay, well, maybe I need to, you know, not give up when you hit a rough patch, or, you know, like, he's got hints to help him not become even older Scott. So we can hope he'll better himself to avoid becoming that person. I have one more point, kind of wrapping up my Scott Pilgrim leaves me wanting comment.
Okay.
The end of the movie, the end of the graphic novels, and the end of the anime are very much a what's going to happen next? We don't know, but let's go down. Let's start over. Fresh start.
Think what I'm thinking?
Yeah. Fresh start. And that is, I think, the ending that makes me go like, well, I want to know what happens next. Like,
what's behind the door?
Where are they going to be okay?
Apparently they get divorced.
You know, and the anime sort of goes like, yeah, at the end of the graphic novels, they're together for like 13 years, and they're very happy during those times. And then they hit this rough patch, and hopefully, by the actions of future Ramona and current Ramona, things will turn out better.
They're only married for like 5 years.
No. He says, it's like, oh yeah, we went on our honeymoon to Florida.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, you know, and then we got divorced. It's like, when? After the honeymoon, some 12, 13 years later.
Oh,
he says that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. I kind of read it as like they were together like 5 to 7 years and then they divorced. But
nope.
And then like the last 6 years, he's just been doing nothing.
Nope.
Okay.
I think the separation is fairly recent. At that point. We haven't talked about too much of what happens in the anime, but that's less important, I think.
I mean, we can go into it.
We can, but we'll talk about.
We're getting our Scott stuff out first.
Yeah. So, Scott. Oh yeah, they always end with me being like, well, what happens next? I want to know more. I want to spend more time with these characters. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily want there to be more conflict. I just want there to be like a big epilogue, I guess, is what I want. I think like, they're happy.
This is just a series of shorts where young Neil reviews movies.
That
because he's a cinephile.
Right after I learned I was a cinephile.
Young Neil might be my favorite character from the anime.
Oh my god, he's so good. I love, again, the nickname you gave me. I just constantly think back to, you know, in the US they call these Mario Karts.
I don't think that's right.
How'd you know? From the US?
Yes.
Well, that's what they call them in Japan. I still don't think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Go read the graphic novels. They're great. Can we quickly dive into Best Girl?
Okay. Go for
it. Best Girl in the anime, I would say, is Ramona.
Okay.
Super Ramona.
Okay.
Best Girl in the graphic novels, I'm going with my girl Kim P.
It's good. That's a good one. It's either Kim or Ramona.
Yeah, those are they're both great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the comics, Kim might be my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, that's another thing in the comics is like Kim and Ramona become really good friends.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why is Kim so? I don't know. Kim's really cool.
It's another shame of the movies. Kim's just not really there.
Yeah, I mean she's there, but she's just sort of there instead of having a lot of like her background with Scott, which I think is some really interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. Also, we don't get any Lisa in the anime or the movie.
Nope.
Like more Lisa.
I don't know. I could take or leave Lisa.
But I liked her when she showed up in the graphic novels. In the past, whatever. But like I don't know. I like the drama that came from like this girl that
I kind of forgot that she
Scott.
showed up in real life, or like she showed
in real
up.
time. Yeah. Because it's just sort of this. Okay, she definitely still has a thing for Scott, and Scott sort of had a thing that they never acted on in the past, and there's all these, emotions that never clearly got communicated, and they're coming up now, and what does this mean? And I don't know. I like that drama. That was some like it wasn't world-ending drama. It was just where the Scott Pilgrim comics actually shine. It's just like, yeah, this is just like 20-something-year-olds trying to figure out love and emotions and life. Yeah. And there's not the crazy stakes, which the crazy stakes are fun. That's what makes in the video game world.
That makes me think, are all those people kind of like rich kids who just pretend they're poor? Because like at some point Scott's parents just buy him an apartment.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And like they're like on an extended vacation in Europe.
Yeah, I think Scott's parents are rich.
Yeah.
But
I'm just like, what are you
doing? He wasn't, I don't think he was getting financial aid from them when he was living with Wallace.
Okay.
He was just sort of bumming off of Wallace.
Was that a choice, or was it just like he just never talks to his parents, so they had no idea?
I just don't think he like told them he was needing anything until it was like
he's just that he's that oblivious, I guess.
Yeah, because he's just like, okay, we lost the lease on, or Wallace moved out. I can't go back there. I'm living with Ramona. Ramona left. I locked my keys inside. I can't get in. I slept on Kim's couch once, and then her roommate sold the couch. I can't sleep there. So then he finally turns to his parents and gets help. But he was also going through a point where it's like, oh yeah, he wasn't working his job several months. He's like, Ramona left. He was in a funk.
He was just playing video games.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim books are good. Should I go reread them right now? Pause the podcast, go reread the comics again?
All right, well, we're going to pause. And we're back. We didn't read anything.
We didn't pause.
They don't know that.
Now they do. I just told them.
Dang it.
I was going to say, I feel like this feeling of like, I want more Scott Pilgrim stuff. I think I had the same feeling when I read the comics back in high school too. It was just like, yeah, I just want there to be more. I don't know.
Okay, I shot my idea. Young Neil, like Roger Ebert type of show.
Okay, that would be a spin-off, not a second season.
It's more Scott Pilgrim stuff.
So, like the fact that most of Scott Pilgrim takes off. Has completely different than the graphic novels, even if it's a complete story, means that they've sort of set themselves up with, if they wanted to do another season, they completely just could, because it's like, we'll just tell another story.
Yeah.
Or maybe one day we'll get the faithful adaptation of the comics, which again I would really like to see, but I'm glad that we had something different too. I'm glad that I could see a little bit like, so like they were happy for a long time after the end of the comics there.
See, I'm just thinking of stupid things. Like, I kind of just want to see what the movie would be like if it was they made that movie from the show.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like Todd and Envy acting as Scott and Ramona.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. I'm fairly
for
sure
this will never happen. Those are things I want to see.
I'm fairly for sure that the
directed by Edgar Wrong.
I'm fairly for sure that the meta text of the continuity of the anime is that the events of the comics happened. Old Scott goes back and changes those events.
Yes.
we get the events of the anime. Old Ramona goes back and writes the script for the movie that we actually got in America, like that released for Scott Pilgrim. Like she's like, yeah, I changed, merged a few characters, cut some new stuff. So like I read that as that script she wrote is the script for Scott Pilgrim the movie.
Okay.
So like the Scott Pilgrim the movie that we can go and watch in real life is the script that she made, just not with those actors.
Well, technically with those actors.
Well, yes, but not playing the roles there.
Gotcha.
That's how I kind of read that meta.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Meta joke there. It's
okay.
like, oh yeah, that's just straight up the script of the movie.
I didn't catch that. That's fun. It's fun
because we didn't see all that many scenes that they were trying to film. So it's like, yeah, I'm fairly sure if they had completed that movie, it would have just been Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk about the show a little bit.
Yeah, I'll let you take the reins here and talk about what happens in the show.
Okay, so we already talked about episode 1. Scott dies at the end.
Yep.
Episode 2 is, we start with Matthew Patel challenges Gideon for the lead of the Evil X's.
Yep.
He wins, so now he controls G-Man Records.
Yep, his empire. 2 record companies, so many like animal shelters, the League of Evil X's.
Yeah. So yeah, Matthew becomes head of that league, and Gideon has to move. He eventually moves in with Julia.
Yeah, which is another thing. They expanded Julie as a character, which why wouldn't you do that when you had Aubrey Plaza?
I think that's the thing where it's like, we have Aubrey Plaza. Let's give her a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
Because
she's
really
fun
not
in the movie, and she's just sort of an annoying bitch in the comics. Yeah. But it's just like, oh yeah, we'll just make her a fun character. We'll keep her. She's very true to her character in the comics, in the movie. But it's like, let's just expand upon her, make her more of a player in this. So
yeah, that happens, and then we go to Scott's funeral. I love that his casket is just coins.
Yeah, you called that. There's a couple of things where you're like, they're gonna say this, or they're going to.
Oh yeah.
You're like, and another thing is Neil's sleep paralysis demon, where you're just like, Neil wakes up in the middle of the night and he looks over at somebody on his computer, and you're just like, sleep paralysis demon, and Neil goes, my sleep paralysis demon. I'm like, you called it. There's another instance where you just called something like, and then 5 seconds later it came true.
Yeah, but I saw the casket, I'm like, please be tokens, please be tokens. Yes! Vindication! What is it? Envy crashes the funeral.
Yep.
Performs, what was the song she performed?
I Will Remember You.
Okay, that's what it was. Somebody doesn't wear pants. Was it Envy? Envy doesn't wear pants?
Yeah, she's wearing like a leotard or something.
Okay. I just remember somebody not wearing pants.
Okay.
Anyways, that's episode 2. I think. Okay, at the end of episode 2, Ramona hears Scott's voice, so she thinks he's still alive in her dreams. Episode 3, Neil writes the screenplay.
Yep.
Or sorry, his sleep paralysis demon writes the screenplay.
He's like, I wrote this
also
in
becomes
my sleep.
a cinephile. Ramona sees the security footage from the night Scott was killed, and then discovers he was just portaled. So he's still alive, and then she goes on her quest to interview Evil X's and others to figure out what happened to Scott.
Yeah, she goes and she doesn't want to talk to her Evil X's at first. She goes and talks to Kim at one point. There's or she talks to Julie first to get the who's and what's from Scott's past, and
Julie is kind of suspect because she absolutely hates Scott.
Yeah,
but Julie wouldn't fake his death. Julie would kill him.
Yes, very much so.
That's my gist of it.
Yeah. But so Julie's like, well, who's known him the longest is Kim.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, Kim. She goes to the video store that Kim works at. And then at that video store, Roxy, one of her exes, shows up. Yep. And then they have a big fight, and then
cool fight scene.
Yep. They go into different movies and stuff. That was fun. Just sort of stuff that it never happened in Scott Pilgrim comics, but I could see that happening in the world of Scott Pilgrim.
Because the novels is just, there's really no fight. They're very short. The fight scenes.
I don't know. Some of them are more prolonged.
A couple.
but it's also just not the point of the comics. There's also just like, what is it? The fourth one, they just get it over with so quick. Or is it the fifth one that they get it over with so quick?
I feel like the Lucas Lee one was super.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was Lucas Lee. It was the second
he shows up, he punches Scott twice, and then he does the thingy.
Yeah, and then it's just like, okay. They actually expanded the Lucas Lee.
That's like the best one in the movie. What?
Yeah. They expanded it in the movie. Yeah. But yeah, Lucas Lee, the second one is just like, oh yeah, no, most of this book is just, the drama happening, and then the evil X is taken care of so quickly.
Yes. Which, with the graphic novel, it's fine. I'm glad they didn't do that with the movies. I'm glad that the movie.
Yeah, that was a fun sequence in the movies. And that sequence in the movie gets parodied or mirrored in a completely different character's fight scene. Because, like, in the movie, he's like, he has to fight all of his stunt doubles.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen. That's not a thing in the comic. But the movie added that, I guess, just to have more stuff happen, more fights happen. And then in the anime, there's just two other characters that are like, we're gonna have our stunt doubles fight each other.
What is it? I think Envy has
Ramona fight Wallace's stunt doubles.
Wallace's stunt doubles, and then they just go towards halfway through the fight because Wallace keeps emotional.
We can handle physical abuse, but we draw the line at emotional abuse.
So
so
Ramona fights Roxy. They reconcile during the fight. Boom, she's off the suspect list.
Yep.
Kim and Roxy.
They're like, Roxy didn't know that Scott was alive, so taking her off the list.
Yep.
And then she's like, am I going to have to do this with all my evil exes? And they're like, yeah, probably.
Probably.
So next episode, the Lucas Lee one?
Yes.
Okay. Which got a great song, United States of Whatever.
God, it's such a good song. It's so fun.
I think I had heard that song once before. I think at friend of the show Alex's house, he just had that playing one night.
Whatever. This might be my favorite episode.
Got a lot of cool skateboard tricks.
Yeah. But what is it? Lucas Lee's career is struggling as a lead actor, so he has to take the titular role in Neil's film Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life. What is it? Wallace Wells eventually gets cast as himself. While they're shooting, Lucas Lee and Ramona are attacked by the paparazzi, who are ninjas.
Yep.
They attack him after it was discovered that Lucas Lee was dating the actor playing Knives Chow.
It's like, Lucas Lee is dating an actor playing a high schooler.
Well, aren't they like saying Lucas Lee is dating a high schooler? It's like, no, the actress is like 31.
No, they're...
Okay.
They literally said Lucas Lee dating an actress playing a high schooler.
Okay.
And then Ramona's like, you're dating a 17-year-old? And he's like, she's 31 in real life. Like, it's not necessarily a big scandal other than the fact that they're dating, but... Mm-hmm. It's just like immediately after Lucas Lee calls Scott an idiot for dating a high schooler, the news is like, Lucas Lee dating an actress playing a high schooler.
But yeah, Lucas and Ramona again kind of make up, and then she sneaks him out of the studio, and he's off the movie.
Yeah, he sort of has like a final moment of realization where he's like, wait a minute, like the actor who played Wallace Wells was just fired from the set, and he's like, wait, that can happen? That could happen to me? So, like, he starts to take things, like, he's reading the script. He's, like, actually reading the script. Because earlier he said, like, I don't even read the scripts anymore. I just say whatever pops into my mind first.
And then he says a really stupid line.
It's like, is that why half of the lines in your last movie were, let's party?
I think he says it later.
Yeah.
Let's party.
Like, 5 seconds later. It's just, like, here's a drink. He's like, yes, let's party. So yeah, he's taking it seriously. He's just like, he reads like, you know what? In this movie, like, there's a Lucas Lee character, and he's an idiot.
Is that me?
I wouldn't be that stupid. Oh. So he's got a little bit of introspection, a little bit of redemption, and a little bit of them making up. Mm-hmm.
At the end, Evil Todd shows up, and he's gonna take the Scott Pilgrim part because he wants to get into acting.
Yep, and she's like, vegan portals, maybe.
It's the same portals.
Maybe. So then, it kind of sets up the next episode. It's going to be...
Which is one of those faux documentary spoofs.
Yeah, they get Weird Al to voice and narrator for.
Who said that?
But yeah, so it's just. First of all, one problem with the movie is that since Envy Adams is playing Ramona and Todd is now playing Scott, they're just like anytime it's like, okay, now just gently put your arm around her back in this scene, and they just start. It goes a little bit further than making out at points.
Some points. They were unintentionally doing the Fincher multiple takes. But they didn't want to.
Wallace goes up to the director, who's just like, I got an idea for this scene. So like instead he stares into Wallace's eyes and then he kisses, and then that causes Todd to be like, whoa,
sparks.
And Wallace does his thing where he just gets people to fall in love with him, and he's just like, sparks aren't real.
Todd and Wallace are having a secret affair.
You want to go run lines in the trailer?
Lines? I want to run lines.
This is the first place where me and Wallace make out. This is the second place.
This was the third.
When Wallace is like, our relationship is going to end when the movie ends, it just like breaks Todd, and which makes Envy mad at her. And so Wallace is like, hey, take it up with my stunt doubles. And then Envy's like, all right, well, then Ramona, you need to come over here and do a stunt. She thinks it's part of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, wait, this wasn't part of the movie? You guys were just trying to fight each other?
After the fight, Ramona shows Envy the footage of the portal. And she's like, that's not Todd's portal.
Yeah, that's too crisp and clean.
Yeah.
He would not be that good at it.
Then,
Todd is broken. He gave up being a vegan because of Wallace dumping him. And then Matthew Patel, new CEO, shows up and
shuts down production.
Shuts down the production there. He's like, this is a character assassination. I won that fight. But he agrees to meet with Steven Still and Knives, who's just started hanging out with...
Knives and Steven have started like their own band now.
Yeah.
Knives is
a prodigy at bass and piano. And Steven's like, would you be interested in collaborating with a seasoned songwriter? And they develop a Scott Pilgrim versus the World musical.
Yes.
Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Musical, is that what they call it?
I don't remember. I didn't write that down.
And they convince Matthew Patel to finance it so he can be the lead role.
Yes.
Because he's a D+ theater major.
Yes.
Before he took over the Empire in the fight.
Let's see. After episode 6, we start with Gideon, who's now Gordon.
Yeah, he's going back to his birth name, Gordon Goose.
Which, in hindsight, a fun name. Not a good name to have, though.
Yeah. In the comics, his middle name was Gordon. It's Gideon Gordon Graves.
But Gordon's like dating Julie now and like living with her. But Lucas Lee shows up and they befriend each other.
Yeah,
and they have a fun.
He's sort of in like he's in a rut, like watching rom-com anime and eating chips on the couch. Like, dude, I've been there. It's literally me. Lucas Lee is like, you lost everything, I lost everything. You need to team up or something. It's like, I got a better idea for you. Friendship, and they build a skate ramp in Julie's apartment.
They have
paintball fight and break a bunch of stuff, and it's like, I was gone for 90 minutes.
Good bit. We keep forgetting about the robot.
Yeah, it's a little robot running around. Which
I think he's in like every episode. This one, he's just like in the apartment pretending to be a lamp. They're just like, what's that robot doing here?
And we've seen that robot. We know it's the robot made by Ken and Kyle Katayanagi.
Yes, we do know it's their robot, their precious little boy.
At the end of that episode, Ramona's like, I know who did it, or I know how, who, and where. Not it's how, who, and why is what it was. Maybe not why, but
maybe not the why, but she knows who did it
and how they did it. They used a vegan robot, a little robot.
The robot is the vegan.
To open the portal and take him. And that robot was made by Ken and Kyle Katayanagi. Yes. So, but then at the end of it, Scott just shows up and it's like, was it the Katayanagi? He's like, yes. But also no.
It was me.
The Katayanagis and their robot did it, but it was future me who did it.
Boom, boom, boom.
And
We
then-
also learned that the screenplay that young Neil wrote was made 13 years in the future.
Yep.
That's
Or I think it was 15 years.
okay.
So, I don't know.
Actually,
Anyway.
here it says 14.
Anyway.
So those are the big two reveals at the end of episode 6.
Yep.
Episode 7, we go to the future where
Yeah, we
Scott-
follow what happens Scott after he falls into
Yes,
the portal.
he goes to the future where future Scott took him, who's voiced by Will Forte. Good choice.
Good choice. Yeah. Well, Forte does good work.
We learn that Scott and Ramona got married, but later divorced. He started a band with the Katayanagi twins.
They got 105 views on their
Yeah.
latest music video on YouTube.
Kind
Which
of
is more than
bops.
we can say.
It wasn't a bad song. It was
Yeah.
weird.
It's fun.
Anyways, he's living in, what is it, Wallace's base? Or
Yeah, he's living in
Basement.
Wallace's basement. Wallace is married to a
to
man who works at Nintendo.
Which, did you catch that it's like the same guy from the comic?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's Mobile, right?
Mobile, that's his name. I couldn't remember his name. I knew it was something stupid.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's probably Mobile. They never say his name.
It
It's like,
looks like him.
looks like him.
Mhm.
They're just like he's got to learn someday, Scott. It's like, I don't think he's ready. Wallace's husband works at Nintendo. What? He gets all the games for free. That's right. Nope. Scott, that's not how it works. Yeah, that's how it works. He gets all the games for free. Where they make the video games.
Yeah. But yeah, old Scott took him because he's trying to get Scott to forget Ramona so that they never get together. Blah, blah, blah. We discussed that already.
Yep. He eventually, with the robot's help, he can go and like basically, because the robot is disconnected from time and space, is how he's able to time travel.
So, yeah.
But he can basically go control the robot in the past to see what's going on, and that's why the robot's been in every episode like spying on people.
Yeah.
It's because it's been Scott following what happens. We get to meet, even older. He and Wallace go and meet up with older Ramona.
Mhm.
She uses her DeLorean time skate. She explains how she wrote the movie to basically, like, I needed our love story to get out there because, he changed the past, but, he was the love of my life. I needed younger Scott to know about us, and hopefully he'd see the movie. And it's just like, but it was a train wreck. It failed. And Scott's like, that's not what I saw. I watched what happened. You went and, did a lot of stuff. It got out there. I was able to see our love through your actions in the past. Even though her actions in the past are just sort of like, I don't necessarily know why I'm doing this. We had like one night together, but there were sparks. And now I'm curious as to what happened. I feel like I have to do this. I'm drawn to do this, which you could take as like a destiny, fate sort of thing of like, oh yeah, they're meant for each other. That's why this is happening. Anything else interesting happened in that episode?
No, the DeLorean skates have to go 88 miles an hour to work.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know what that is in kilometers.
Okay.
Which is that a bit from the comics too, where she's just like, I don't know what that is in kilometers, or is that just from the anime?
I think it's just from the anime.
Because she said that before too when she's talking about the subspace highway. I don't know what that is in kilometers.
But yeah, so Scott apologizes to Knives, and then he tries to kiss Ramona, but there's a force field between their lips.
AK Field, which is an Ava reference.
Oh, they do say AK field?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think in Ava it is an
Anti-kiss field?
Yeah. It's an anti-kiss field in this. In Ava, I think it is an AT field, and it's actually sort of our namesake. It's like, it's anime or it's absolute territory field sort of thing,
Okay.
which we're anime territory is a reference to that. So
Gotcha.
I believe I might need to fact check myself on that.
Okay, while you're fact checking, episode 7 ends with them all heading to Matthew Patel's musical adaptation of Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life.
Sorry, absolute terror field is what it stands for.
Terror. That's another way to describe this show. So, final episode. They're all at the play. During the play, an even older Scott teleports Scott, Ramona, their friends, and the evil exes to somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if that was supposed to be the moon.
I don't know.
It's like some desert wasteland. Was it in the future?
I don't know.
Present? Who knows? Most of the evil Gideon is just like, yeah, this has nothing to do with us. Can we just leave?
Oh yeah.
But eventually they all fight him.
They all fight. Eventually, the fight is just Scott and Ramona versus older Scott. But then old Ramona shows up. She digivolves into super.
She fuses with normal Ramona, and they become super Ramona. And then young Scott, or normal Scott goes, I can Sonic 3, and older Scott goes, I can Sonic 2, I mean 3, when he hears young Scott say it. Which is a callback to how they did the joke in the first episode. In the movie, he goes and talks about how Pac-Man was called Puckman or something like that. Yeah. And they were worried about he's giving that random video game trivia. But in this one, he's just like, there were 2 Sonic cartoons in the 90s, and they were both, Sonic was voiced by the same guy in both of them. Can you imagine the same guy playing the same character in 2 different things? It's a metatext to Michael Cera playing both of them. And that joke just doesn't exist in the comics. Mm-hmm. It's just the awkward moment of being like, am I dreaming? Is this real? Yeah. So that's another thing that the movie added that I like, that they kept that in the anime. I'm sorry, Sonic reference. Super Ramona is just like, well, we can always clean up the mess, and they're basically just like giving us hope again. Yep. That this one's still a babe in the woods, and it's never too late to clean up a mess there. So maybe they'll get back together.
Super Ramona sends Scott back to where he's supposed to go, and she's able to like kiss normal Scott and break the field.
Mm-hmm. Gordon and Julie were planning on blowing up the stage at the finale, but Matthew was able to use his hipster chicks to disarm all the bombs.
Hipster demon chicks.
Yep. And then at the end of it, he's just like, I mean, can you please take the CEO job back? I've lost so much money.
This is so hard.
And so they are friends for now. Mm-hmm. As they're walking out, you can hear Gideon say, I like Matthew now. Or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. But we get a little stinger in the middle of the credits where they are Gideon and Julie or Gordon and Julie are evil laughing. So maybe a little bit of a sequel bait, but we don't need it. It could just be, they're just going to be up to evil shit now because they find that attractive in each other. Just say, I think Gordon's got some good taste in anime. He's watching a tsundere anime.
Oh yeah,
that lasts like 12 seasons.
Well, the guy was the tsundere, right?
Yeah.
Because they ran into each other. He's like,
I think she is sort of tsundere too because of his actions. Yeah. He's like, I'm a baka boy sometimes.
The Baka Boys? Is that a band name?
The Baka Boys? Yeah, I think that works as a band name.
How would you spell boys?
B-O-Y-Z.
B-O-Y-Z.
I think. I don't know. Maybe S. I don't like that spelling of boys, but I don't think S fits in a band name.
The Baka... Got it corrected to Baja.
No, not Baja Men. That's already a band.
Alright, it's on the list.
Okay.
But it just says here Matthew continues to work as a stage actor. Lucas takes up work as a barista.
Yep.
Roxy helps Todd train to maintain his vegan powers. The Katyanagi twins continue working robotics. Wallace finds a boyfriend in Paris. And then Knives joins Sex Bavam as the keyboardist.
Yep.
Oh, and Ramona continues work as a stunt double.
Oh, yeah. That was a nice little okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
I like that.
Because in the comics, she canonically has super strength.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, she's like, she can easily rip up metal and stuff. Like when she fights Knives in the library, she's just like, yep, let me just tear off this metal pole and use it as a weapon. She's got superpowers there.
The only notes I have that we really haven't discussed is they used Ring of Fire as an ending song.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Which I think is a reference to... That was on the Lucas Lee episode, which has a lot of skateboarding. And I played a lot of Tony Hawk's Underground 2 in the day. Okay. And that was one of the songs that would play in the background whenever you were in... I think mostly whenever you were in Spain, it would play a lot.
Gotcha.
I think it was Madrid was the map. But yeah, that was just like... That, the Ace of Spades, some other like classic like sort of punkish sort of things. The Ring of Fire is not really punk, but it fit in well. It's in that Tony Hawk's Underground 2 soundtrack, and I'm like, huh. They just did Ring of Fire. I wonder.
Good music in the anime.
Oh yeah, great. I mean, good music in the movie too.
Oh yeah, it's the main reason you watch it.
Yeah, it's the one downside of the graphic novel.
Yeah,
there's music, but I have to like read it. Yeah. it's like okay. We can talk about all the different iterations of the band, because the band ends up in different places in each media. In the comic, Steven Stills starts his own band with his boyfriend. Because Steven comes out in the comic.
Yes.
It's like, I think it's implied he came out in Volume 5, but they didn't show it on screen because Scott just had too much other stuff going on.
Like, I came out like last volume, but you were busy, so we didn't tell you.
Yeah. But he's in there with his boyfriend Joseph, who was at one point Kim's roommate.
Yes.
And was helping them produce their album, which is 17 minutes long.
And then at the end, Scott and Kim start their own band.
Yeah, they start a band called Shatter Band.
They're not good.
They're not good. But they played a young Neil, or who's just Neil at that point, and Knives, and they're like, you're the only two people who could be our fans, and you're not into it either.
Want to play it again?
But they're just like, yeah, it's like, yes, Scott and Kim are friends.
Yes.
Even if there was some unrequited feelings going on there, at some point they can still remain friends, which, I don't know. That's another reason why, like, Kim's great.
Yeah, Kim's great. I like Kim.
And then...
I mean, in the movie,
it's just the band becomes Young Neil, Kim, and Steven.
Yeah, and then they lose a record deal, but that we really don't know the fate of that.
Yeah, but they're just like Young Neil, you're doing great. Lineup's better than it's ever been.
You should now be known as Neil.
Is that in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's in the comic too, and I'm like, which one is it in? All of them?
I don't think it's in the anime.
It's not in the anime because the book that got written
about
that Ramona based the movie off of was by old Young Neil. that's one casualty of the anime is Young Neil will stay Young Neil forever.
Even when he's old.
Also, he looks at the book and he's like, old Young Neil. Wonder if he's related to me.
Oh, wait. This brings up the question. Is Neil a himbo? He's not big enough, right?
He's not big enough to be a himbo.
Okay.
Todd is a himbo, but Todd would be a himbo if he was nicer.
Okay.
Todd is like an evil himbo.
So
Lucas Lee almost becomes a himbo at the end of the anime. Okay. Because he's big and
now,
he's nicer
I know
now.
Scott doesn't have the size, but he has the fighting. Does that not count? It has to be size.
The size has got to be an important factor.
So it has to be size. Okay.
Also, I don't know. Scott's stupid, but he's not like himbo stupid.
I guess. He's not funny stupid. He's just stupid.
No, he's funny stupid, but it's a different type of funny stupid.
Okay.
It just doesn't quite feel right. The glove doesn't fit.
Okay. If the glove don't fit.
Not a himbo.
Not a himbo. I don't know if there's a way you could make it rhyme.
Himbo it isn't. If the glove don't fit, himbo it isn't.
Works for me.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Can I do maybe a couple flaws of the show, I think?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. You said you had
some
picks.
All of the voice acting is great. I think as a whole it's good. I think there's a couple weak links.
Do you have, like, characters that you would say? Or just, like, moments where you felt like that felt off?
Maybe moments, but I think... I don't remember not shit. I forgot his name. Steven.
Steven Stills.
Yeah, I don't think Knives is that great. But again, it's a nitpick because a lot of them aren't like trained voice actors.
Yeah, they are.
You can kind of tell though when like one of the bigger names I think do a good job just because they're used to it. They can kind of.
Well, I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead did a great job.
No, she's good.
Yeah. I think Michael Cera. I like Michael Cera as the voice of Scott better than I like Michael Cera as Scott.
Yes.
Just because it's like I see that and I'm like, oh, that's Michael Cera. Like I don't know, it takes me out. Yeah, Steven Stills.
Think Michael Cera looks a little bit too smuggish.
Yes.
In real life,
he's too tall. I think too.
Okay.
Scott's a little.
But his voice matches.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. He does.
No, I think he did good too. Again, I think it was just kind of some of the lesser supporting characters.
Yeah, which, I mean, like, the Scott Pilgrim movie, at the time it came out, was not filled with a bunch of well-known actors, per se.
They were I don't know if they were even up-and-comers. They became pretty big names.
Yeah, there's like, oh, okay, this cast is actually stacked in hindsight, but it wasn't, at the time, per se. There might have been a few names where I was like, oh, yeah, okay, like, that's the Fantastic Four guy.
Jason Schwartzman might have had his best year of his career this year.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, well and now it's just like, oh yeah, these are all like Aubrey Plaza and Jason Schwartzman and all these people are like, oh yeah, these guys are pretty big names. Jason Schwartzman, I don't know if I would say is a big name, but
no. But he had a big year this year.
Yeah. What did he have this year?
Well, he had Scott Pilgrim. He had Asteroid City.
Yeah.
And he had Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, that's right. He was in Across the Spider-Verse, wasn't he? Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I mean, like, if you are... He's a big enough name, like... Because Wes Anderson is a big enough name that a lot of people who know movies know Wes Anderson's work, and therefore probably know Jason Schwartzman. Yeah. But, like, you ask somebody, like, okay... I ask one of my brothers, like, oh yeah, it's Jason Schwartzman. They'd be like, who? I asked my sister, and she's like, yeah, I had a beer with his brother once because his brother's in a band. And it's like, yeah, okay, you keep thinking you're the coolest person in the family because of that. Whatever.
But yeah, that's one nitpick. I think the ending episode kind of whatever. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of just it ending on a big fight that doesn't really do much, I guess.
It allowed them to kiss.
Yeah.
Again, it's the we need to have, or we don't need to have.
It's kind of the problem nowadays in movies is just you got to end it with a big fight, and it's just like I don't think you needed a big fight here.
I don't know. I thought it was fun because we got to have Street Fighter, even older Scott, who's basically Akuma from Street Fighter.
I don't know,
but I feel like they also they played fun at it because at one point there's like because he was trying to confront the evil exes to figure out why he can't kiss Ramona, and it's like there's no fighting, no kissing. This sucks. This finale sucks.
I like the part at the end where last episode where like I think Scott's trying to pick a fight with Todd and just like knocks his popcorn over.
You owe me a new tub of butter. I mean popcorn. And now double that and we'll be good.
But yeah. Again, those are my like slight nitpicks, but again, I really liked it. It's really good.
We never said that the final lineup in the anime for the band is Scott, Knives, Steven, and Kim.
Yes.
Sorry, Steven Stills. You can't say...
Sorry.
You can't say Steven. You have to say Steven Stills. Do you always call him by his first and last name? Who, Steven Stills?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Go watch it. Go. Apparently it didn't do well. Apparently people stopped when they're like, this isn't an adaptation of the comics. I'm out. Like, get over yourselves. This was...
Wikipedia says it got good reviews, though.
That's good. I'm just seeing, like, people... Because I was looking, like, I just want to be in this world more and see what other people thought. And there were some people like, oh, yeah, I quit after this because it wasn't what I wanted. And I'm like, come on, people. It's still good.
Do you have your dibs written down?
No. I never write down dibs. I just call them.
I can't remember if this...
I think I have dibs on Kim. I know I have dibs on Kim.
Okay. I've written down Ramona, Gideon. I don't know why I took Gideon. Stacy, and Envy.
Stacy. Oh, okay. Stacy Pilgrim. Yep.
Yeah.
Scott's sister. We didn't talk about her at all.
She's not really in it.
Yeah. We didn't talk so much. I love Wallace in all the iterations. Okay. I think Kieran Culkin is perfect casting for Wallace. I will say Wallace has more nice moments where he's actually like friends with Scott in the comics than he does in either the movie or the show. Mm-hmm. Where it's just like, because playing up Wallace is like this mean gay man who's always gonna get the upper hand at the end of the conversation. It's just great. It's very dynamic. Mm-hmm. And Kieran Culkin does a great job of that.
But he's great. It's just that. What is it? It's not a race.
I'm just like, well, Jimmy, has this band great or do they suck? They have not started playing yet.
That was the test, Jimmy?
You passed. Just like he's always stealing Stacy's boyfriends. Because he steals Jimmy. And she just goes, again? Which is the best part.
Like, texts Stacy while he's asleep. It's like, how do you do that?
But he has genuine moments where it's like, oh yeah, he genuinely cares about Scott.
Yes.
In the comics. And there may be a few of that in the movie, but it's just how condensed things are. It's just like, we gotta hit the good Wallace stuff.
So I think maybe the least fun, I guess, person from the comics is young Neil. Yeah,
young Neil doesn't really do much in the he's just sort of there to have Knives still stick around with the band by pretending to date him.
But yeah, young Neil isn't really doing anything in the comics.
And he's great in the anime.
He's great in the anime. And the movie. He's great in the movie, too.
And he's okay in the movie.
I like him in the movie.
Yeah. It's just he doesn't have much to do, but he does do stuff.
He has a line. I forget what it was.
So what do you play?
Yeah, well, it's like, so what do you play?
That's a big question. Zelda.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, that's a good bit. Mm-hmm. They gave him that. That's not in the comics, so another thing where it's like, yes, the movie make young Neil a little dumb. He's
okay. Is there anything else? I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up. I don't know. I really like this. I want more things to exist in Scott Pilgrim, so please go watch it so Brian Lee O'Malley can go make more things.
And Ben David, who wrote it.
Yes. And then. Is it Grabinski? Is that his last name?
Ben David Grabinski. Or Grabowski.
We didn't mention that one of our favorite podcasters plays 2 roles in this movie.
I think
Griffin Newman plays actor in movie, and he plays...
Butler.
And he's just doing voices that he does. He does his Danny Zuko impression when he plays actor in movie. Yeah. Who's the original actor to play Wallace Wells and then becomes Wallace Wells' stunt double. Mm-hmm. I keep trying to say stunt devil. It's double. Double. And the butler at the League of Evil X's. What kind of voice? He's like...
I don't remember that one.
It's like...
I didn't realize that was...
I'm a really big fan. Or something like that. It's like a high-pitched voice is what he was doing. So. Okay. He basically just said he was a big fan of Lucas Lee. It's his one line there, his butler. Okay. In the second episode.
Gotcha. I have to rewatch it now.
Yeah, I'll do that. What are you doing in 5 minutes when we're done recording?
Probably eating something.
Oh, okay. Good idea. Well, you're hosting. You're going to take us out?
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter. X.
We're going to say Twitter, X every time, just in the vein, hope that it eventually changes back to Twitter.
That's because it's funny.
Yeah.
At anime_territory. Follow us on all your podcasts. Go ahead and rate us if you want.
Is that a thing? You can do that?
I guess.
If you can do that,
every other podcast you listen to tells you to do it. We have never said it, so why not go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
I don't care what you rate us.
Give us 1 star. That's what we deserve.
Like 2 or 3, maybe. I think we're 2.
Depends on the episode.
Yeah. This one, probably a 3. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I had actual things to talk about instead of us just going over the plot.
Mm-hmm. Follow us all basically all podcast platforms.
Mm.
I'm not missing anything. YouTube, Anime Territory,
yep.
Cityscape background, because there's multiple of us.
You are now leaving the anime territory.
Goodbye.